Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you to the Martha's Vineyard African American Film Festival. I am Cori Murray, and it is an absolute honor, I mean it, to be here tonight serving as your moderator, because I get to speak with the wonderful cast and director of this marvelous film that you all just had the first chance to see. Do y'all know y'all were at the world premiere? All right, I'm gonna need this energy for the cast of the Supremes at Earl's All You Can Eat. Please welcome first Sanaa Lathan.
Hey, y'all.
Next up, Aunjanue Ellis-Taylor. Director TINA MABRY. Aduba.
Saved myself and almost the marriage.
And we allowed one man to come. Please welcome Mr. MEKHI PHIFER.
Yay!
Welcome. One more time, y'all. Come on, give it up one more time.
Thank y'all.
So I brought my copy of the book, which is based on the 2013 New York Times best-selling novel by Edward Kelsey Moore. But I read on a book forum that someone said that, quote, while not being a love story, it is a story about love. Do you all agree?
Yes. Yeah, it's definitely a story about love. And my thing is, friendships have a love story too. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think this film is definitely indicative of that. So definitely it's very much a love story that sometimes those, friendships last longer than our romantic relationships. So it's a good thing to point at.
Yeah. Now, let's go back to the beginning, and I'm gonna start with you, Tina. And I read somewhere that when you went to go pitch this book to make it a film, you cried. What moved you so much about this story?
Well, one, I was afraid I wasn't gonna get the job then. No, but I read the story, and what I saw my family, I saw myself. In particular with Barbara Jean, I have an aunt who is an alcoholic, and her drink of choice is gin, bumpy face if you're from the South. You know what it is. And so, but I personally wouldn't drink any clear liquor because I thought that meant that I was going in that path. So, but that was something that made me think about with Barbara Jean, because she completely will not drink dark liquor because her mom did. She only drinks clear. But that doesn't mean you don't have a problem. And so, but it also, looking at Odette's character, looking at a woman who is always putting other people first, a savior. And what does that do to a soul? How that can weigh you down, but you never let it show. And then trying to be, was Clarice, having perfection, not having the luxury to fail. What does that feel like? And so for me, I felt like it was my own path, the path of all the women in my life. And I just couldn't stop myself from crying because I fell in love with these characters because I was these characters. It was me, and I could recognize that. And it was important that we have this kind of a story. And I always feel like for actresses, when you get to a certain age, when you're in your 20s, they want to market you as the sex symbol. You're the leading lady. But they forget to think about, well, what the hell happens between 25 and 60? They think we disappear.
Yeah.
We become a beautiful, sexy woman, and then all of a sudden we're a grandmama. And I'm like, these are some beautiful women.
Yes, they are.
And where's the material for what life is in between? Because we have a lot of life we live. And so all of those things coming in between the personal stories for my life, why I need to tell this story, but also how important it was to our industry that we have it exist, is part of the reason why I cried. And I just couldn't stop, but somehow got hired.
For the cast, you know, Tina mentions who in her real life informed her in adapting this book. But for each of you, who from your real life informed your characters?
Well, I have a lot of Barbara Jean in me. I have a lot of family members. Alcoholism runs in my family. I just did an episode of Finding Your Roots, and yeah, it was great. I'll tell you when it's on. But anyway, and you know, there was a lot of amazing things that we found out, but you also find out the dark sides of your lineage. And on my father's side, we had 3 generations of alcoholics who actually died of alcoholism. So definitely a through line in my family, and thankfully the cycle has been broken. But it's something that I've seen. I've grown up with people who deal with, you know, drugs and alcohol as a self-medication for the pain that they're going through. We should never judge an addict because they're not doing it because they're bad. They're doing it because they're in pain. So that in and of itself, but I have always been a girl's girl in terms of since I was a little girl, I always had best girlfriends, and I do till this day. And I find that they are a different kind of soulmate. You know, they are the ones who can truly love you unconditionally, sometimes more unconditionally than your own blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I really resonated with this story and their relationships.
Okay. And you, Aunjanue?
I think that so far as Odette is concerned, I mean,
Okay.
okay, stop, please. I'm gonna start crying. So I think that I've had a lot of Odettes in my life, and just being the person who just held it together, and when everybody else was crying, that they couldn't cry, that they had to perform the function of keeping everybody together. So I've experienced that. But I have to say, and I think this kind of piggybacks on what you were well, I don't know what's the verb of that?
Piggyback.
Help me out, teachers.
Your Supremes got you. They got you.
Okay. When you speak about lack and opportunity, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this job is that I don't get to perform. I don't get to act with women. And I just thought it was just an illustrious opportunity to work with illustrious women who I have a profound amount of respect for, and actually say lines to another woman on screen, which is for me a very rare thing, and I craved doing it, and I think women crave seeing it.
Yeah.
You know. So.
Yeah. And what about you, Uzo?
You know, frankly, I think I could see a piece of each of the women and pull from in terms of connection, in terms of the weight of loss that Barbara Jean was going through, in terms of needing to carry something heavy and not show it with Odette, and the experience of watching that heavy dam break eventually with Clarice. And so being able to sew that, and much like what Aunjanue said, or Aunjanue and Sanaa both said actually, the power of women, the power of telling this particular story with this sort of range of relationship, that really rang for me. You know, my best friend still to this day, my best girlfriend, we've been friends since we were 13. You know, I love her. Shout out to Simi Doobie. You know, and majority of my friends are women, and I love my girlfriends deeply. So to make that connection and also sew that back into our younger selves, you know, and experience that with the other young ladies who are absolutely fine and exceptional, both as young women and actors as well. I'd seen those movies before, and I loved the idea of being a part of one.
And you, Mr. PHIFER?
It's my turn. How y'all doing? Everybody okay? Y'all enjoyed the film? These lovely ladies, awesome. What connected me is a few things. I'm not gonna get too far in depth because I don't want to monopolize the time, because I can go on and on, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm known for. They say, man, shut the hell up already. Just say what you gotta say. But no, seriously, one thing that connected me, not only just with my character, but with the piece, was a couple of things. One, it was an excellent script, and they did a great job. You guys did an awesome job, Tina, and, you know, and I had very rarely, I've done a lot of work in my craft so far. I've been doing it over 30 years now. And, you know, what was interesting about it, thanks for watching, you know, I appreciate that, you know what I mean? No, but what I loved about it was that I had rarely read a script that was as in depth when it came to friendship. Now, you guys may have not known this about me, but I lost my mother to breast cancer, to throat cancer and breast cancer. She had cancer in the brain, everything. It just spread, you know. And what made her last as long as she did was the camaraderie with her best friends, who were like her sisters. What made her wake up in the morning was not only the family support, myself, my brother, and her brothers and sisters, but it was her friends, her best friends that kept her active, that kept her, longing for life and wanting to do that. And I'd never really read something like that really resonated with my heart and my emotions. And not only that, just to see, like Tina very eloquently said, there's a phase in a lot of times in black women and black people in general when it comes to Hollywood where the story kind of just fades out. And then it picks up, and then we're grandparents all of a sudden, you know, and it's like, wait, hold on, what happened between 30 and 48? You know, I mean, we were doing things during that. You know, things were happening. And so I love seeing that aspect. And just to be able to be a supporting man, not just supporting my wife, but also contributing. You know, not being cynical, not being condescending. Really just being able to be a strong black man because I'm strong, because I'm supporting. So when my wife gets diagnosed, and even before then, just the way he was courting her, even the guy who played my younger self, he was, you know, still courting. He was shy, but he saw something in her that added strength to him. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what relationship is about. My lovely wife is here, and we talk about it all the time, and I'm always trying to be better with that, you know, and she'll remind me anytime, yeah, we got to be better. And I go, yes, you're right, honey, you're right. And see, that's me being better, just agreeing, you know, I'm being better. You know what I'm saying? So, but, you know, that's the great thing about, and rarely do I find that men get to play the type of role that I got to play, which is supportive, loving, and understanding. And I think if we have more of that, it'll help us, not just in our daily lives, but in our communities and the way that we interact with one another. So that's just me. I'm not gonna go on and on. I'm telling you, you better get this mic from me.
Thank you, Makai.
No, you got
it. Tina, you have said that, quote, it's about telling stories about the dirt that's under the rug. It's about playing in that gray area because life is not just black and white. And I bring this quote up to you because one of my favorite scenes in the film is the fight scene, actually, when Odette reads everyone for filth. It tells them all about themselves. And it was, truly a spotlight on their individual flaws that they had been ignoring. Tell us about filming that scene and what you wanted your cast to deliver.
Whew, that scene. We did rehearse that a couple of days before. I mean, I have to say, like, you don't get a lot of times, time to rehearse a lot of scenes, and also you don't want to over-rehearse something and drain all the life out of it, so it's not fresh. But we went through, talked through the beats, but really understanding what the intentions were. So on a directorial level of really going through where our adjustments are, where our beat changes, yada, yada, yada. But really what it's about is sometimes in those friendships, you have got to be real. And it's been at this point, everything has been building up. They're holding in all of the things that aren't said. And I think what's important is that, honestly, to have really true deep friendships and relationships, you must be honest. But honesty doesn't mean it won't hurt. The truth can hurt sometimes, but you don't have to be malicious. But I think this is one of those scenes where we are looking under the rug, that you are supposed to feel like I'm peeking in on this argument that I'm not supposed to see. And it's a testament to the performance of the three of them, of how much they gave, how much they supported each other, even in the performance of the scene. But to go back to what it actually means in the sense of life is not so easily black and white, friendship is not that simple. It's not that binary where we can just easily go, you know what, I'm gonna let you keep on drinking, girl, it's all right, I'm not gonna say nothing. But guess what, there's two different approaches. She has that approach of this is not the time, let's take care of her. And she's like, no, this is exactly the time. The dam has broke.
Yeah.
And how do we do that? And then, of course, defense comes in, because when we are confronted with truth, we will get defensive. Yeah. And so it was about being very honest about where these three ladies would come from in that conversation and stand on three different points. And for the first time, we see that erupt and come out. And I think that's why it's such a powerful scene of we will say words that cut each other from time to time. And you might nick a soul, like Odette say. But the thing is, but the people here, they will heal it for you. Mm-hmm. And that's what their friendship is about.
Okay. So I heard that the energy on set was very much like a family. So Tina, I want you to get your flowers from your cast right now. And Aunjanue, I'm gonna start with you. What was it like working with Tina?
Did you know this question was coming?
Hell no. So we family, sorry, we're gonna be over here talking. Y'all excuse us, go ahead.
One thing that several things, but one of the things that I loved and appreciated so much is, like I said, I don't get to act with women a lot, and also don't get to be directed by women a lot. Yeah, that part. Yeah. So a lot of times I come from sets that are very testosterone driven, and people feel for some reason that they have to yell something in order for them to be heard. And that is not how Tina approaches things at all. She'll come up to you, she'll talk to you, she checks in on you, and she just creates an environment, I felt, where people wanted to please her because she was just generous. She just was generous in her spirit and the space that she made for people, and she just respected everybody's jobs. You know, everybody's jobs. Everybody's job. My grammar's terrible tonight, but you know what I'm saying. And I really, really appreciated that, definitely.
Uzo, for you, what was the heartbeat of the Supremes?
I think I would say what the heartbeat of the Supremes is the love story, the sister friends. You know, there's sisterhood. Sister friends are born out of sisterhood, a form of sisterhood. And when I say a love story, it's because it's that fear of breaking up. You know, I actually think probably the breakup of a friendship is harder than the breakup of an intimate relationship, anyone that you could ever have. And so when you have those friends, not every girlfriend is a sister friend. So when you have that core connection that I can see into your being and you can see into mine without words having even been passed between one another, that kindred spirit, we have kindred friends in this life. I think that was the heartbeat of it, that family, that chosen family energy that the three women insisted on, were committed to, would sacrifice, beg, bargain for. I think that's the heartbeat of that relationship, of that film, and those types of friendships. I think that's supremely, pun intended, what was at the center of the script that Tina both wrote and directed. That distinguishing factor between friendship and sister friends.
Yeah. Sanaa, you spoke beautifully about what informed you playing Barbara Jean, because she was broken. You know, when we find out, you know, what really was at the root of, you know, a child dying, a child being murdered. What was the grace note that you brought to playing her?
What do you mean by that? The grace note?
Yeah, because in the film, they were, you know, Odette was like the grace note. It's like extra flair that you would bring.
Okay. You know, when you get to be a certain age, you don't watch the movies that you're in. No. No, I watched it, you know, once, along on an iPad like this. I don't. What is the grace note that Barbara Jean?
What that you brought to Barbara Jean, because you know she was she was broken.
Yeah.
There was a lot of humanity you brought.
For
to her.
me, acting is very spiritual. For me, I believe that this is part of my purpose, and I believe that every role that comes to me, I have something to offer it, and it has something to teach me. As a Black woman in America, as a Black actress in this business, it is, you know, I've been through a lot. Not any more than any other Black woman in here, but I've been through a lot, and there's been a lot of pain and a lot of picking yourself up and you know, persevering and grit. And sometimes you get a role that it's wonderful because it can be cathartic and healing for you when you play it. And so for me, I intentionally kind of channeled a lot of that, that pain that I had gone through all these years into her. And that's when you can use art to kind of be healing to you. And I believe that, you know, one of the beauties about this cast is that we're all so different, right? Not only physically, but just in essence. And that's who we are as Black people. Yeah. Like that is, it's, you know, we still have so many stories to tell. We are a rainbow of people, of types, of experiences. There is no one Southern Black person. There is no one city Black person. And so that's one of the things I loved about this experience, working with a lot of my friends, but also I'm excited for us to keep telling these stories that reflect all of who we are.
Yeah.
So.
We've been speaking a lot about female friendships, the women in our lives, but did any of you guys have an Earl? Or a spot like Earl's that you went to kind of center yourself and feel safe? MEKHI, did you have an Earl in your life?
Oh, man. Well, it was, you know, it was my grandparents' house, you know, was like my Earl all you can eat. You know, that's where the whole family gathered for, you know, family functions, Thanksgivings, you know, 4th of July, family reunions. And it was a place that we could all be fifers. unjudged. I got a big family. So in our family, my wife can attest to this. And she's from Louisiana, much more reserved, but wonderful family. And it was like a whirlwind when she first came because the Fifers don't know how to be quiet. So, but that was our that was our sanctuary. That was our place where we could air our dirty laundry, where we could challenge each other, have debates, whether it be just debates about music or debates about politics. And it was a no-judge zone, and we could yell, scream, and curse at each other. But with all of that, the cops were never called. Nobody was ever fighting. There was no lawsuits. It was just being able to express yourself, and that was my Earl's all you can eat.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else had an Earl's?
I mean, I think for me, it's kind of a muddled thing. For me, I think I found my Earls with my two Supremes at USC. And going to USC Film School, it is not an easy feat for a person of color, a woman, to walk through. Because out of 50 each semester, there will be 4. People of, that's going to be either women or black people. That's it.
Yeah.
And so 20 plus years ago, I met my Supremes there. And that's where I found my no judgment zone. That's sitting out there, out in the loading dock, which they have changed USC now, sorry y'all. But out in the loading dock, like sitting in those benches, that was my Earls. That was my church without a pew. And where I could be myself, I could be vulnerable, I can laugh, I can act a fool. We can gossip, won't lie. But it was the people, and it was in that particular arena. And it's hard to say like a school is your Earls, but if it weren't for that university, wasn't for that space and the women that were in it, I would not be here today. And so to kind of go back on, if you don't mind me piggybacking off of Sanaa about films being cathartic, I find myself in everything that I do, and I never know it when I'm doing it. It's not until the film is done that I realize I've been talking to myself. I have gotten some expensive therapy on this screen. I have spent a lot of money on therapy. Thank you, Searchlight. They're about mental health. But to work through things that we don't I haven't got a chance to process or talk about. And that was something of when me having a celebration of my Supremes and those friendships have meant to me, as we've lost our parents, we've lost jobs, we've, those of us, lost children, honestly. And sometimes lost our way. And so this is definitely something that's very cathartic, but I think that's the power of cinema, that it works on us individually, but hopefully it provides that for people who watch it, that you don't feel so alone, because trust me, we all have our things. Yeah. And hopefully this is a film where people feel that way.
Yeah. We have 2 more questions, then we're going to wrap it up because we know it's late. But back in June, I had the pleasure of being at a dinner with Tina, Aunjanue, and Sanaa, and I think, Uzo, you were busy with your new baby. And Baby Smith hashtag is called It Gets Greater Later. And I know all of you here have 20, 25 plus years in the business. So what is the bliss that you have now as creatives? You can start.
That's good. There's a confidence that, you didn't have early on. And I think that's not just the business. That's just like being in a patriarchal society. We're taught that as we get older, we should just disappear and we have no worth. But I'm finding it the opposite. I'm finding my inner power just, like I don't give a you know what I mean? Y'all know there's a comfort in your skin that happens. I want the youth to look forward, not to be scared of aging, but to look forward. I know my mother is 75 and I want to be like her, so that's also the power of reflecting our experience on screen and having female filmmakers who are going to show that, because we learn through reflection. And so, yeah, it feels good.
Aunjanue?
I think that IDGAF really hits. Hits. Woo, it hits. You know, it's just like all of that anxiety, right? Like that anxiety of like caring. And all I want to do is get free. I want to like, you know what I'm saying? All I want to do is get free, and not just get free from me, but get free for all of us. I want to get free for all of us. And I think the best way to walk that path is to walk that path, to be an example of that. So yeah, IDGAF.
All right.
Go Kamala! Go Kamala! I just want to say that. I'm bursting at the seams to say that. Oh my God, y'all, go Kamala! Oh, sorry. I was trying, like, how can I work this in the conversation? It just didn't naturally happen. Right. You say it, right?
This is it. This is a moment of joy. Let's talk about it always. Yeah.
Tina, what's your bliss now?
Oh, my bliss now. I mean, I think this is I don't give a couch over here, because but it's something about as you mature, you just stop caring about every single thing. And I think if you look at it, if for people who are out here and you're in your mid-20s and you worried, I understand you worry about your career, you worry about your bills. These are real things. Welcome to adulthood is the most ghetto place I've ever been. But right, get me out. Please gentrify the neighborhood here. But in all honesty, the thing is, if you look back at yourself when you were in high school, think about the stuff you now don't give a damn about. It works the same way as you get older, but also you start to learn your self-worth. And what am I willing to sacrifice for my self-worth? I might not get that job, but I'm gonna get my peace, because that job is not for me. It's not for me. And how do I make sure I stand up for myself? Because like you said, the younger generation, they're looking at us. Yes. And if it is just as hard for them as it was for me, we're doing it wrong. It's got to be easier. And that's my thing of how do I clear a path for the filmmakers coming behind me that you don't suffer the same way. And my thing is learn from my mistakes more than my successes. And so for me, it is about learning, and it is a work. Cori, I'm not finna lie and say it's not tempting to worry. I am not gonna sit there and lie. It is a daily practice. But my self-worth, my peace in my soul, where I find my love and my family, my friends, because in the end of the day, that's what's gonna sustain you. Because this industry will come and go. They will put you up on a cross, or they'll praise you on a Thursday and crucify you on a Friday and not look back. So what are you gonna do in between? You have to know that and you have to self-validate. Don't seek for other people to say that. These people know they are good actors. They are. And I'm glad they know that. They have been, now trust me, they didn't got them awards. Now I ain't gonna even lie, y'all got the hardware. But that's not why they know they're good. They have found that. And so we have to do that as individuals. And my thing is, that's what I do hope and pray that y'all do see from this film, is that you see your self-worth, that you feel inspiration, that you see joy even when it's dark, and just to keep going. But do not ever forget, you are worth more than what other people have to say to you. It is about what you say to yourself. So find your peace and have your mental resolve and just keep going.
Uzo, what's your bliss now?
I would say that my bliss is three, I guess. I would say is it will all be well. Preserve your peace and stay in the love. It's, I think, keeping and preserving joy. And holding on to that, and don't ever let anybody steal it. And doing everything in your power to ensure that that peace is maintained. And I think in knowing, as I get older, that that's all true, that it will all be well, it's like, to your point, it's like, life is a wave, you know? It's gonna be, as soon as the expression Andre de Shields, the great Tony winner Andre de Shields says, the peak of one mountain is the valley of another, you know? And recognizing that you always somehow find your way to a peak. And so it's easy to sweat the smaller things at points, but knowing that it will all be well. And I think holding on to that sort of pushes away anything that might disturb your peace and keeps you in a place of peace and preservation of it. And then it also, I think, keeps you supremely in a space of love.
Pun intended.
And bring us home, MEKHI. What's your bliss?
All right, listen, I'm gonna keep this real short and sweet, okay? Because they said everything, all right? I'm just gonna do one little last cherry on top, and then we can all get something to eat and something to drink and, you know, enjoy Martha's Vineyard. Having confidence in oneself. And what I say, and this goes back to, and I'm not gonna go back like 80 and many moons ago. I'm gonna go back to simple slavery, being brought here in chains, okay? We had to learn to adapt to a new way of living, a new way of surviving, a new way of existing. I always use the phrase, and my wife knows this as well, you have to learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. So you have to have the confidence in yourself that, because you're gonna hear no's. You don't think that when they so-called freed the slaves that people didn't hear no and no and no. But now look at us in Martha's Vineyard, doing what we do. We control the music industry. Our stuff is billions of dollars. It controls the Olympics. You got Snoop at the Olympics. What the fuck? You know what I'm saying? What more? And we got so much more to accomplish. You know what I mean? We got a black woman, black and Indian woman, running for president. We had a black president. You know, there's so many more things that we're gonna do, but we've come so far. So understanding that no is not an option, that having that self-confidence and being comfortable with being uncomfortable is the way to go, and that's the way that we succeed, that's the way that we get ahead, that's the way that we do what we do. And that's all I got to say about that.
Well, on that note, y'all go out and have a good time. Go have some food and some drink, like MEKHI said. And when November comes, vote.
Yes.
Yes, vote, vote, vote. Vote.
And like these women say, IDAF.
Right.
And don't postpone your joy.
August.
Thank you for correcting me. And definitely watch The Supremes at Earl's All You Can Eat when it premieres on Hulu. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you guys. Woo!
Thank you.